Greetings and welcome to this lesson in which we are going to discuss equipment safety. Office equipment safety refers to the proper handling, use, and maintenance of devices commonly found in the workplace. This is to ensure that both the equipment are safe and the employees also are safe, and the equipment can last longer. For administrative assistants, understanding office equipment safety is crucial because they operate different machines such as computers, printers, copiers, staplers, and binders. And if you have this skill, it will minimize the risks of accidents, equipment malfunction, and costly repairs, while also contributing to a smooth and efficient office environment. In this lesson, we will discuss essential safety practices, including reading and understanding user manuals, basic maintenance, and using the correct tools for each device to promote equipment safety in the workplace. Let's get started. Before I share these safety tips with you, let me just give you a small story. On one day, I got into an office. The secretary was about to prepare a document, and her printer was not coming on because there was no output from the stabilizer. Her stabilizer had two buttons. On one of the buttons, it was written input 140 to 260 volts, output 220 volts. And on another button, it was written 100 volts to 260 volts. The button that was activated was a button on which it was written 140 volts to 260 volts. Unfortunately, her input voltage was less than 140. It was something around 117 volts. And so there was no output from the stabilizer. She did not notice it. She just realized that the printer was not coming on, but the stabilizer was shining. She could not recognize that stabilizer is not giving out current, was not doing anything. What she did was she unplugged the printer from the stabilizer and plugged it directly to the wall. Little did she know that was her own way to solve the problem. When she plugged in the wall, on her printer, it was rated input 220 volts. It means the printer needs an input of 220 volts, nothing more, nothing less. Her stabilizer was able to provide 220 volts, but in two conditions. When the voltage was too high, there was a button you had to press, and if the voltage is too low, there's another button you have to press. That will enable the stabilizer to function appropriately. What she did, she connected it on the wall, and the printer came on. She started printing, and just within a few minutes, the printer went off. This time around, the power board of the printer was damaged. That was to cost her institution over 50,000 francs CFA, close to 100,000, because of an error she made. If she took time to read what was written on the stabilizer, to read what was written on the equipment, and if she understood equipment safety, she would have not probably fallen into that trap. Okay, that's just a simple story and an experience I witnessed firsthand. So, let's look at general safety practices. First, always read manuals. Read and understand the user manual for each piece of equipment you have. Manuals will provide important safety guidelines and operating instructions. train yourself. This is a common thing I do. When any equipment, if I buy any equipment, if I'm to use any new equipment at the workplace, I always ensure that I take time to read and train myself on how to use it. Because I know how to use some printers, not all printers. You may place me in front of a printer today and I'm completely blank. Even just to print a page, I will not be able. It does not mean I do not know how to use a printer. So the first thing I do is to read the user manual and then train myself on how to use that equipment, especially if it is a new equipment. So I need to train myself on how to use the equipment correctly. Then always keep your equipment clean from dust. You may have malfunctions at times simply caused by dust. After that, you need to practice some safety, have some safety guides that you keep with your computer. So avoid placing the computer on the floor. This will prevent dust from entering and overheating. So you use a desk or a computer stand for proper airflow. Limit the number of open programs to avoid strain or system resource, to avoid strain on system resources. So close unused programs to improve performance. Turn off the computer after each use. This conserves energy, reduces wear and tear, and allows for updates. Always use a surge protector to safeguard against power alterations and fluctuations. Create regular backups of important files to prevent data loss in case of hardware failure or other issues, and keep liquids away from the computer to prevent spills and damage. For your printer and copier, always use genuine ink or toner cartridges recommended by the manufacturer. Non-genuine or refilled cartridges may cause damage to the printer and result in poor print quality. I've lost many printers just because of ink. In fact, at one moment I came to realize that printer manufacturers can actually give you a printer at no cost but sell you the ink. They can actually give you the printer at no cost but sell the ink to you. So we actually do not buy printers. What we buy is the ink. That is why when you go to buy a printer, the question you should be asking yourself is how the ease with which you'll be able to manage the ink of that printer. Anyways, that's subject for another day. Regularly clean the printer or copier to remove dust, paper particles, and toner residues. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for cleaning procedures and use appropriate cleaning tools. Keep the paper trays free from debris and ensure that the paper is loaded correctly to prevent paper jams. Handle toner cartridges with care to avoid spills and position the printer away from direct sunlight. Ensure adequate ventilation around the printer or copier and use printers and copiers with the appropriate power supply and ensure that the power cord is in good condition. And after each use, unplug the printer or copier when performing maintenance or when you are leaving. If you are not using it, unplug it from the wall. I cannot tell you how many equipments have been damaged in my office by electricity. I cannot tell you how many. So you need to unplug this. So we have told you about your printers. Be careful with the inks. I've lost printers. Even printers I've bought and I've not used in printing one paper because of inks. Be careful with power. Unplug it whenever it is not being used. Then for your staplers and binders, always use the correct size of staples that correspond to the thickness of documents. And for example, use larger staples for documents with many pages and smaller staples for fewer pages to ensure secure binding. Select the appropriate size of binding combs based on the number of pages in the document. So, using combs that are too small or too large can result in loose binding or difficulty turning pages. Do not exceed the maximum paper capacity of the stapler. Overloading can lead to jams, bent staples, or improper fastening, and avoid inserting more pages into a binder than it can hold. This can strain the binder mechanism and result in damage to the equipment. I cannot tell you how many binders that I know that have been damaged just because their users exceeded the page limit. Each binder has its page limit. What I do is that if they tell me that the page limit of a binder is 10 pages, I will use 7 or 6. If I'm told it is 20, I will end at 10, 11, or 12. I will avoid reaching 15. But I see people, maybe because of time, a binder limit is 10, they'll put 15. And when they put 15 and they punch the first time, the second time, it will strain the mechanism and damage the equipment, and often beyond repairs. If there is jams, if you have paper jams or staple jams, always use a staple remover or a tool that can carefully remove the jammed staple. Never use your fingers because you can hurt yourself, and always align your pages carefully before punching. This will ensure smooth insertion of combs. Avoid using excessive force when punching holes or inserting combs, as this can damage your equipment. So these tips, if you can practice them, we know you cannot practice all, but you have to learn and know that having this skill is very important to you as an administrative assistant. You should be able to use the equipment at your disposal very well. Not that today they buy, tomorrow it is damaged. It is not proper. Okay, so whether it's a computer, whether it's a printer, whether it is a stapler, whether it's a binder, whether it is a copier, whether it is which equipment in your office, you need to read the user manual all the time. Train yourself on the proper use of that equipment and know how to take care of that equipment so that you can use it for long, rather than having a machine today and the next day it is damaged. Thank you very much for watching this other lesson, and see you in the next lesson.